Some people might say there really isn't much of a bonded labor problem in South Asia or in India. And the fact of the matter is bonded labor is deeply entrenched. We all know it's happening. It's happening in broad daylight, and it's happening in huge numbers. Bonded labor is the exchange of credit for labor. When someone borrows and they pledge their labor to work it off, they're exploited, right? That's at the basic level what bonded labor is. Based on my analysis and data gathering across 11 years in India and South Asia, my estimate of the number of bonded laborers in India is somewhere between 11.7 and 12.7 million bonded laborers, which is an exceedingly conservative estimate. It's in the last several decades, as the global economy has really taken full steam and India's economy has opened up to foreign investment and foreign corporations, that the system of debt bondage has been prime feeding ground as a low-wage labor system for the global economy. So you now have bonded laborers who can be found in dozens of industries, not just agriculture as of old, but dozens of industries such as brick making, beady rolling, apparel, sporting goods, granite, mines and minerals, salt, cubic zirconia, diamonds. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of the products that are produced or sourced by bonded laborers in India and that are exported abroad for immense profit. Across the last couple of centuries, we've seen a radical increase in the overall profitability of slavery. It's gone from maybe a 15 to 20% return on investment a couple of centuries ago to 300, 400, 500% or more per year. So that right there tells you what the economic logic of servitude today is and why the system would persist, because it makes robust economic sense. How many of these multinational corporations are aware of the fact that the buildings that their offices, their workers work in Hyderabad and Bangalore and Gurgaon may have been built by child laborers and bonded laborers? So long as India allows hundreds of millions of its most vulnerable and disenfranchised people to be brutally and severely exploited for profit, India will lack the moral authority it requires to be a true leader on the global stage. So the 1976 law in India on bonded labor is a fairly comprehensive law. It offers comprehensive definition of bonded labor, sets up systems to identify bonded laborers and then re-empower them and actually prosecute offenders. And the Indian law is actually pretty good. But the fact of the matter is these laws haven't been adequately enforced. The key deficiencies are, among others, a very anemic penalty. So even if you actually prosecuted and convicted all the bonded labor exploiters of these offenses, the economic fine they face is still fairly limited. It's still a really good business decision to get involved in the business of bonded labor because the maximum penalty you might face is fairly anemic. Some of the biggest hurdles to upholding the law in India are the people charged with upholding the law in India. Okay, it's not complicated. The law is pretty straightforward. But the fact of the matter is, people don't take it seriously. Lawyers don't take it seriously, judges don't take it seriously, district magistrates don't take it seriously, everyday citizens don't take it seriously, police don't take it seriously. If all of these various systems and strata of Indian society took this issue seriously, then bonded labor would have been eradicated. People look the other way. They figure, well, this is actually a better system for them than the alternative, which could be destitution. But that's not good enough. No one should have to face the scenario of either starvation or servitude, right? And the fact that servitude with a couple of meals and some penny wages a day might be better than starvation and destitution doesn't mean it's okay. It means society has failed, that this is the devil's bargain people face. There is no way of getting around the fact that the caste system is at the heart of the bonded labor issue in India. Those people who are at the bottom or outside of the system altogether, like scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, Dalits, etc., are overwhelmingly the people who are exploited and whose labor is exploited in India and throughout South Asia. There needs to be more research. Academics need to take a leadership role in conducting more rigorous research on bonded labor. It's my hope that my book on bonded labor will serve as sort of a model, that this is what can be done when we put our minds to it, to start to lay out a rigorous framework of what is bonded labor, what is the nature of this phenomenon, what are the numbers, how is it working today? Tracing of supply chains, gathering of data, looking at the economic models and business models of debt bondage in India and throughout the region. In addition to poverty and belonging to an outcast group, Lack of access to formal credit markets is a fundamental push factor of what renders people vulnerable to being exploited in bonded labor. Providing some alternate access to credit markets through microcredit or savings and help groups and things like that, all the way down at the local level. So the other thing we have to do is build a social movement whereby a sufficient wave of outrage is built across all levels of society, and no one will stop until this issue is solved. If enough people in the region were outraged by bonded labor, the issue wouldn't exist. Somewhere in the conference hall where you're all watching this is the next leader in India on this issue. I'm convinced of it. And that leader is going to require a strong civil society and citizen-based movement to eradicate bonded labor. Putting pressure on lawmakers, putting pressure on corporations to do the things they need to do to enforce the law in the case of lawmakers and reform the law, and then in case of companies, trace those supply chains and clean up those supply chains. And be able to say with some reliability, yes, this granite for your countertop, or this shirt, or that rice, or that tea was not made by a child laborer or a bonded laborer in India or Pakistan or wherever else. Across 11 years of research that went into my book, I met thousands of bonded laborers all over South Asia. And one of the things I always said to them, and continue to say to every bonded laborer I meet or would meet, is don't give up yet. When you look into the eyes of a bonded laborer and you understand their suffering and the suffering of their families, and you feel that fatalism, what I've said and what I continue to say is please don't give up hope just yet. A dignified life is your right, and we will make it happen.